one of the big takeaways in the paper was about, and you've talked about this a bit, the flow of funding
Hmm.
acting counter to the intentions of community identified, led, and owned research.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping you can talk a bit about both, to integrate a question from the chat, what compensation for Indigenous knowledge holders and community researchers looks like in this context, and then the structures of the university
Hmm.
that made the sort of proper valuing and rewarding of that knowledge somewhat challenging.
Hmm. Well, I think the first part, maybe I'll get you to re-ask the second part of that question. But the first part, like, so honorarium, the Elders Council, the traditional knowledge holder, they actually work at the university. So they receive, one of them is like he's paid by the university. He's a full-time person at the university. So that was part of his role. The Elders Council get honorarium for their they got an honorarium for their involvement, and the researcher, the community or Indigenous organization based research assistants, they got paid according to what the university standards are for research assistants. So yeah, so there was that was handled kind of in a not a standard way, but kind of a standard way. Like there's a standard pay set for research assistants or research, you know, yeah, youth research assistants at the university. And so that's how they just had to, the community had to bill. They had to invoice the academic researcher, and then the academic researcher had to send it to the university. They had to go through that channel. But so, and yeah, I mean, I've kind of talked about the just how the money, yeah, the flow of the money, who controlled the money was very strongly at the academic researcher and university level. Like the community organization didn't have any, they didn't have any control over that other than just sending in invoices and then having to wait to get paid. And sometimes it took a long time. So I think sometimes it's just like 6 weeks. And so there was a lot of that kind of waiting and paperwork and things that were challenges for the community that wanted to pay their youth a little quicker, or you know yeah. So I think that one of the main things we learned from the evaluation of this project was that there needs to be, and I said it earlier, is there needs to be a shift in who controls the funding, either that it's more equal, or the community themselves hold the funding, control the funding. And yeah, that was definitely, we heard that loud and clear from the evaluation of this project, for sure. And yeah, maybe if you wanted to ask if there's things that I'm not answering here with regards to the question. I mean, I think that, some of the deeper structures at the university that can change to really decolonize research. Like it includes like, you know, seeing not people not as participants, but as research partners. And that is like a mind shift, because even our language, like how do you use, like I'm writing this report right now and it's hard not to use the word participant, right? So changing our language, challenging standardized ways of approaching knowledge sharing or research dissemination, because some of the communities, they didn't want publications, and so the university wants publications, and the researcher, especially if they're new researchers, they need publications. And so yeah, kind of opening up. And there are a few shifts happening at some universities, as to what counts. Like if you're going for tenure, for example, like what counts as, valuable, valid research dissemination in that process of going for tenure, like kind of expanding that to, extend beyond, publications in certain journals to be more like community based, like, or arts based, or, knowledge sharing events that are more like a talking circle. And, you know, yeah, just kind of opening up what, and I think in some, that is beginning to happen in some sense. What else? I think, it's really important, and this goes through all of what I've been saying, that, academic researchers need to understand, the social, historical, and political context of the Indigenous people at Turtle Island, but specifically for the specific community that they're working with. And not just from a literature review, like reading about, but to actually have lived experience, like spending some time there. And again, those things are all, they take time, and it's counter to, these structures of productivity that say, we want, you got to get this research done quick. And so, yeah, like, and thinking about what their role is in that relationship, what's their responsibilities, what it like that, the principle of reciprocity, like what's my research, like building this into the core of your project, like what am I contributing and giving back to this relationship, like how is it benefiting this community, and how can I help facilitate that, are key questions, I think, that we need to ask ourselves, like to be reflexive about those things.